The dominant playstyle of the last game factors in the design of the new game. I wonder what brought this up.
When you see Twitter discourse, just like assume a couple of things. Somebody lost and they're salty. They're just venting into the wind, right? Because Twitter is short form. It's you just type some shit and then you just say it and then you're mad or whatever, right? That's just the nature of the beast. But you know me, I don't like to talk about something if I don't think that there's a higher level, okay? I don't think that the people whose tweets I'm showing right now are wrong or their opinions are incorrect or they don't have some kind of truth to what they're saying, okay? Fighting games nowadays been taken away from unique playstyles, and that kind of sucks. It was nice seeing different playstyles, rather it be lame, aggressive, neutral base, etc. Now they're just trying to make everybody play rushdown style, which I just don't think suits everyone. Says,
how do you feel about this? If you're a Strive player, you're like, man, he's spitting. Welcome to Guilty Gear, by the way, because the entire design of GG is supposed to be even all your zoners run at you. Right, this is a classic GG negative penalties in every game. You get punished for backdashing and all this shit, right? Like if you're playing GG but you only played Strive, you're like, man, that's fucking right. It's like the whole series is like that. And if you played Strive, got decent at Strive, this might make you angry, but if you played Strive, got decent at Strive, and went back to like Exit and XX, and you're like, finally, I could play the game I actually want to. It's actually because you're not good enough at the game. And once you get good at the game, it turns into war just like Strive. But just different levers are moved. Some people might not like that, but it is kind of true. But the main thing ends up being, and this actually a thing to talk about is the phase of the game you're in. Similar to if I have any TCG friends, very common. There's two things that win in fighting games when a new fighting game comes out. One is easy rushdown character, and two is stupid easy zoner. Stupid easy zoner is not common. Right. Every now and then, one sneaks by, but definitely by far, like the first 2 to 3 months, is pretty common that there's just a guy that runs at you and punches you and has some buttons that are plus that people are losing their shit over before they inevitably nerf the character, add more bullshit, more characters get developed, etc.
And then Arslan Ash, Tekken 8 be like, Heat Burst, Heat Smash, Power Crush, Heat Engager, throws 10 computers, analyzers, speakers. And he says, seriously, why do they even bother giving each character a variety of moves? And there's been a
I do feel bad for the Tekken people. I could only speak on this some because I did play. I did get purple in a week without playing King, so that should tell you I'm pretty aight. But oh shit, I'm in the void. Come back. There you go, I'm back. You're not drunk anymore. It's like their first time having to deal with resource activate in a game ever. There's a certain other game that I've played called, you might have heard of it. It's a certain game with a character named Goku in it. It's called Dragon Ball FighterZ, and that game is also this type of game of like, oh man, I hit him first. Here comes sparking. Oh fuck, if I get hit by point sub and sparking, I get knocked down into level 3 right away, and I have to spark back. And if he baits it, I die. Smiley face. And then it's 3-2, and then now he's gonna fucking keep tagging and keep healing, and I have to, And it's every game. And the main things you do is you grin and bear it, you call the game shit, or you play something that beats it, like I did. So, Dragon Ball example. Last season 1 team kind of capped, but, the vision was there. Piccolo, Ginyu, SSJ Goku. Last season 2 team, Team Gohan, GT, SSJ Goku. Yes, sir. We snap. We snap a single time. And I kill you. That's what we do to stop this, right? And then season 3, of course, Gotenks, Roshi, Bro. Just the stuff to stop this. Whether or not this exists in Tekken, so because by the way, you have two ways of looking at it. You pick the thing that stops this, or you pick the thing that is this to the extreme. One or the other.
Punk for Street Fighter V had the literal best playstyle in the world to play that game. He just won constantly in that game. And same thing with Arslan Ash. However, the big thing to think about, if you've read this article and you thought about fighting...
Okay, let's talk about something interesting. Let's talk about something interesting. A problem that is extremely rare for many high-level international world-class fighting game players. Okay, before he moves on to this, right? I have talked about this on stream before, but never for the LK Chronicles. So, let's say you think I'm dog shit. You're like, man, LK's washed. What happened? Like, the Milia Envy posted a meme of me of like, man, like I thought he was just a content creator. I didn't know he was fucking cracked at the game, right? And someone was like, oh, it's because we only know him from Persona. He sucks at everything else. There is a problem that people that this okay, I have to set it up like this. These type of statements about games, you notice like when new games come out, I don't make those type of statements that much. If I do, it's probably just to my boys while I'm like trying to like learn the game and stuff. I'm not usually tweeting like, oh my god, like Gran is +2, fuck Gran. Oh my god, Soul is +2 -4/so OD. You know, like it's usually like month 4, month 5, month 6. I'm like, you know what? This Nago champion is kinda, or you know what? Like this thing, you know, it's after a while of development, really, really being in the thick of it, right? Not saying you have to do it like that. Like obviously you should respond to your emotions too, but that's just how I tend to deal with it. And the reason why I tend to deal with it this way is specifically since I have pretty much mained exclusively anime games, and I want to say compared to many, not all, there's people who are comparable to me. I have mained many games in tournament play. And the biggest thing is like when people are like, why did you stop playing BlazBlue, for example? Like you were one of the best BlazBlue players in the US. There really was only like a couple of people your level and then like one specific person like better than you. Like why did you switch off that and play Guilty Gear? Especially because it seems like you're not as like deeply in love with Guilty Gear as other people. And my answer is at the time Exert came out and people stopped playing BlazBlue. And so I had no one to play BlazBlue with, really. There's only a couple of people who are still on BlazBlue, and I want to play a lot of people, so I picked up Exert. It's literally that. Like because I want to play with so many people, I end up switching games, and it could be as little as like 18 months. Like Persona had like pretty short life cycles as a mainstream competitive game in the US, but hyper competitive when it is. And then you have some long stints, like Exert is like slightly over 4 years, is a pretty long stint for an anime game. Pop quiz. When did Tekken 7 come out? February 18th, 2015. This is arcades. Initial release date. So, arcade comes out, console comes out like early 2017 or something like that, right? So, when did Tekken 8 come out? Almost 9 years of playing one game. This is incredibly long for a fighting game. Here's a more fair one. Let's do Street Fighter V release date. February 15th, 2016. When did Street Fighter 6 come out? Slightly over 7 years. If you played Street Fighter 5 on launch, you played the whole time. Even for people who call, by the way, for the people who say shit like, you remember, shout outs to the homie Aaron, but people are like, Aaron, you're a person who got enabled by Happy Chaos. You're a brand new fighting game player. Like, who the fuck are you, right? When did Dragon Ball FighterZ come out? This game is 6 years old. This game is not you. This game is 6 years old. If you started fighting games with Dragon Ball FighterZ, you have been playing fighting games for 6 years. The thing is, despite the two players we saw before, Arslan Ash and Punk, and Punk, he actually should know this because he plays more stuff, but in Arslan's case, he definitely is not exposed to this as much as Punk is. It's just I don't know if Punk thinks about this thing. They have literally never dealt with this, where like, again, remember the thing that gets me about old game good, new game bad, of like the dude who, when Strive comes out, say, man, I wish ArcSys made real fighting games like Persona 4 Arena 1. So I'm there when everyone's saying it's a mashy game where they think people are so bad they can't do combos, and then DPs have no inputs. So that's where I'm starting, right? They're just not used to learning new systems and learning the pains of a new system. A combination. So, for example, one of my best friends, one of my brothers, if you will, brothers from another mother, if you will. One of the reasons he stopped playing fighting games so hardcore was he was really upset. I mean, we were playing anime games, so of course he's exposed to this. If I decided to just randomly play Street Fighter instead of playing Melty Blood, maybe it would not be like this. He did not like how every couple of years, he's like, all my hard work goes away, and I have to go from like level 80 back to level like 15 every game. Where like in like traditional esports, you don't have this problem, but I think you kind of do. I can't actually speak on that. And then like other stuff like poker and shit, like and chess, like that's the same game forever. And I really think that's a big part of where that feeling is from. I yapped a lot, but there's you see where I'm coming from, right? Guilty Gear devs wanted Strive to destroy Exert. When this article came out, people were losing their shit. However, with what I said just now, you may or may not have heard this, but when Exert came out, basically Guilty Gear Exert was made to be like the Street Fighter 4 of Guilty Gear, as in like, they did many versions. Basically, Guilty Gear XX is XX sharp reload slash accent core and plus R, 5 versions over X amount of time, I forget. So essentially the idea with Exerd is that they kind of reset the game and went back to sharp reload and then built off that and changed things, made things easier, made things more consistent, but it's still like the Guilty Gear XX that you knew from when you were a teenager or a kid. You might be like, why would they want an SF4 Guilty Gear, right? There's two angles of this too. When SF4 came out, a lot of people called that a baby game. So if you think SF4 is a baby game, they're like, why would you want to make a baby game out of Guilty Gear? And some people did have this take about Guilty Gear Exerd. It wasn't very common, to be honest. I will say, out of a lot of ArcSys games that came out, I think that Guilty Gear Exerd Sign 1.0 was mostly well received outside of two problems. One, the OGs were, it's based off XX, so like the OGs are just destroying everybody, like Cisco. And two was the launch YRC was fucking cap. I think those are pretty much the main complaints that people have. But there's another angle of this. If you take this and then you take Guilty Gear Exerd is supposed to be the SF4 of Guilty Gear, which is supposed to bring people back who used to play back in the day, but they didn't play anymore because they got overwhelmed by too many systems and stuff, right? So it's based off Guilty Gear Sharp Reload. When the fuck did Guilty Gear Sharp Reload come out? March 26, 2003, right? So technically, if you start an Accent Core, let's say I think Accent Core comes out 05 or 06. I'm going to say 06 to be kind. And you played through Exerd until Dragon Ball came out. You played essentially the same base game for like 12 years. You played that shit for a long ass time, right? So the problem, this is what I was saying when Strive came out, the problem that many Guilty Gear people had with Strive is that uniquely in anime games, Guilty Gear does not have this problem. People who play Guilty Gear love Guilty Gear. People who play BlazBlue, they'll play like Persona, they'll play other shit. But people who play Guilty Gear uniquely just play Guilty Gear. So when Strive came out, it was basically a Guilty Gear player's first time playing a new video game, a new fighting game for the first time ever. You know what I mean? And they really were shell-shocked by this. I'm saying it like that because they were. When people are saying this, they're like, man, they're ruining the game. It's like they literally had never played something different before. Now look at this again and keep that in mind.
The difference between Strive and Exerd is that Strive was made to destroy Exerd, he said. In that sense, we were trying to make Exerd an example of a failure. Of course, it wasn't a failure, but we had to change the direction completely. We had to be prepared for that. What does this mean? They have to start from scratch and build a new game with new influences, with new goals, with new things that they want to accomplish when making the game.
Is that subsection even a very large crowd? Well, a subsection of what? And for reference, GG Vets. I mean, there's GG Vets. They're like competitive GG Vets, and then you have to remember too, there are people who just Guilty Gear is kind of like a cult classic type game, right? So there are a ton of people, like, call me a hater, but when, like, for example, I posted like the current state of Guilty Gear Strive or whatever on my main channel, there are people who are like, what's the current state of Guilty Gear Strive? This game is strubby and it's not a real game, and like it's not a real game like Exerd and XX was. And I'm like, low key, post your matches, bro. I'm trying to see you play Exerd, bro. I'm trying to see you play Exerd and XX, bro. The only way you can dodge LK criticism in XX is if you play Zappa, Cliff, some shit that's not in Exerd. If you play a character that's in XX and Exerd, I am allowed to flame you. If you play like shit, I am allowed to flame you. If you say that Strive is not deep. It clearly means you do not understand Hater LK says you don't even know what type of game Guilty Gear is. When Strive came out, I asked a bunch of people in different character discords and stuff, what is real Guilty Gear? People kept saying real Guilty Gear. And it's been a while since I told this story, but like basically what I think Guilty Gear is a high-speed game, every character has a unique thing, and you aim for this win condition to overwhelm your opponent, but you have to like jockey for that situation. The game gives you systems to fight back against these things, various things between the various games, between passive and active options, and there's fast choices you have to make on offense and defense, and like all of these are done in like a unique way in neutral, pretty much. With that description, that basically describes all the games. That's what I see the game as. That's how I approach the game. Some people are like, "Yep, it's about me hitting you with this fat ass combo." I'm like, "What if you can't hit him with a combo?" They're like, Or they're like, "Oh, it's about the freedom of the game," and I was like, "All right, freedom of the game, okay, cool." So and I started posting examples of like situations, and I'm like, "So what do you do?" They're like, "Oh, like it just depends on my mood. I'll do this, I'll do that." I'm like, "Oh, I'm picking this thing that beats 9 out of 10 of your options every time. Now what are you gonna do?" They're like, I'm like, "Yeah, dude, like, yeah, like when you had to play the real game." You know what I mean? But again, people can play for any reason, but I found these things extremely interesting of like what people thought.
The same thing happens with Tekken. I'm sure you saw Harada's tweets about how the game was boring in Tekken 7 and heat and aggression, and they want the game to be faster. And the same thing for Street Fighter 6, clearly designed away from a lot of the things that were really common in Street Fighter 5. The way both of these games are played at the highest level is very defensive. I totally see in particular why they would be frustrated. The modern games that look at the last game and decide to change, they're actually just changing away from their exact playstyles, right? Their exact matches were probably what the devs were watching, and they were like, "I'm sick of this shit."
There's a great story. I wonder if I could find this video. There's a great story of like Dragon Ball FighterZ Season 1 finals of like the executive producer is really popular with the community most of the time. I don't know if they showed it on stream or if it was a picture. I think it was like on stream of she was watching like Kaz play grand finals and just shaking her head the whole time. And when people saw that, they're like, "Yo, this team is dead. This shit it's over in the next patch." She's just going like, I that's my fucking fantasy. My fucking dream is a dev watching me play and be like, "Dude." You know what I mean?
Think about Street Fighter 6, like the way endgame Street Fighter 5 was played, lots of staggered offense on plus frames, one hit confirms, like really safe play. If your opponent ever did anything, you just view reversal it. In this game, drive reversals are bad because view reversals are really powerful in the last game. And they didn't make lots of hit confirmable pokes, right? Like they immediately nerfed light, safe buffers into drive rush in this game.
One of the main things I actually see, people are like, the games are easier, the games are scrubby, One of the things I actually see outside of them making combos easier all the time is how much they want you to actually guess. Right? If there's something like even take me, like I don't like Guard Crush. Why don't I like Guard Crush? Because like having a fighting game with as strong offense as anime games, and then having a situation where there's no throw protection, to me is insanity. To me it's like that's my version of this pretty much.
Street Fighter 6 is like undoubtedly a more complexly built game in terms of managing system. There's tons of interactions and there's tons of decision making you have to make. And it's a game that's clearly built wide enough to be a struggle to control everything, right? And in 5, I think there were players that could deal with everything. Or in 7, you could sit there and deal with everything. And I think they don't want their games to boil down. If the game can be slowed down reliably because the offensive options or like the options in neutral are not very strong, what ends up happening is that the game will just be less is more. Like Daigo had like a description of it, which is like, if the best choice in the game is to do nothing, then the game is like bad, right? Because playing and actively moving and hitting buttons, putting you in a worse spot feels bad. Like you're not moving the joystick, you're not touching the buttons. You're like, my best decision is this.
Interesting perspective from a Street Fighter player, actually. Because I usually end up thinking, but it's because of the games I play. So I usually end up thinking like good game, bad game is like how degenerate the win cons are. So like that's why I say shit like, "Oh, Ultimax is not a good game" and stuff. Like I'm not saying it's not fun. I'm not saying it's not engaging. I'm not saying it's not deep. I'm just saying the win cons are super BS. That's all. Or like you know what I'm saying.
The impressive thing is doing nothing while the opponent has strong tools to.
It's one of those things where in my region it's understood. Like I'm so used to talking about games like that in my region, everyone knows what I mean. And then like, I'm like, what if I start a YouTube channel for fun? And I'm like, this fucking this game's not like that good. And people are like, "Dude, what do you mean? It has da 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 da." I'm like, "Oh, wait. I'm not talking about graphics, not talking about music, not talking about mechanic. I'm talking specifically. It is more than 50% of the characters super BS, pretty much. And doesn't mean I don't play it. Like I played it. Like I didn't like it as much as vanilla, but it's still fun. Margaret's fun.
You could slow Street Fighter 6 way down as an example and make the game really defensive, make drive reversal really strong. You could do all these changes to slow the game down a lot But like, does it make for a better game? I'm not sure. It makes for a game with far less action. Let's say they made the hit confirm windows wider or something in Street Fighter 6 as an example, like the things people wanted, right? They want the game to be slower. What ends up happening is like if all your buttons are one hit confirmable, no one spins drive gauge in neutral. You just sit there hitting your safe medium over and over and
That's a good
over
point.
until it hits, and then you hit confirm drive rush and then do your combo and then take your offense, and then if that doesn't work, you go back to poking in mid range with your safe medium that you can hit confirm over and over. Like they were afraid of that. They wanted.
Is lack of action necessarily bad? It depends on the type of game you're playing. I mean, honestly, it's not even totally. It depends on the type of game you're playing. It depends on the type of game the devs want. You know, so if the devs want a game that's really active, and the players are like, oh well, like these three characters are good at doing nothing, then the players are all going to pick the characters that do nothing, and then the devs are going to look at that and be like, fuck, we didn't want this, and then they change it.
That's also why they create games with better offense and defense generally, because if defense is better, then like the game doesn't get played.
Yeah,
you
so
can
you
just
need
sit
better
there
offense.
and defend, and then the other person can't hit you. To give you an example of like when you make defense too strong, you guys remember the snap meta in Dragon Ball Fighters? And it was season 2, right? Whenever people hit you,
Is he woke? Wait, let's find out if Sajab's third eye is open.
they would snap your character out, and then incoming has a fixed timing, and your opponent could string you up and do like whatever pressure sequence they want and then run whatever mix-up they want on you. The reason snap meta existed, it was the only way to gain offense in the game, like at all, that was actually meaningful and consistent, and it's because defense was way too strong.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes, sir.
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know if he's gonna go all the way. So I had a very spicy take about this. My take is actually the snap meta does not exist. That it was an extremely hot take. People fucking hated me for saying that. And the reason why was that the way people played basically is that they would snap you and try to build a bunch of meter. Basically, that's their goal. Either they would try to build a bunch of meter, or they don't get the point of snap, so they just do it over and over and over and over again until someone sparks and like build you a bunch of meter and stuff, right? So what I was saying was that basically almost nobody actually had a team where the goal was to win with snap. That's why I said there was not a snap meta. There was only a very small group of people, a couple of people, at least to my knowledge, around 10, who had teams that the goal was to win because they snapped you. Like mine. My endgame team is my endgame season 2 team is a team that is I snap you once and I win. That's the goal. That's the goal. That thing is actually pretty uncommon.
The mix-ups were generally reactable or like fuzzyable, or like there's OSs to deal with them. The reflect in the game is instant. You could instantly reflect whatever your opponent was doing. And then when you got knocked down, there was like a million wake-up timings. You could change how fast you got up. You could tech up or down. You couldn't force a real mix-up. The only way to get offense was to like hit someone, vanish, snap in their character, and then when they were coming in on incoming, they didn't have access to reflect, that you could then do a real offensive sequence. Because
Also, air DPs, they went up. So since they go up, like they would whiff on a lot of setups.
otherwise, the game just like couldn't support offense that was like consistently good enough. It was just so hard to consistently stick to someone and run mix-ups that the best strategy in the game was to just snap their team 800 times around. It looks so gross because you would just hit them.
Okay, he missed. He missed, but he was okay. Do you guys want to see what it looks like? Do you want to see what a snap fucking team looks like though? I have one from right before we went to season 3. So I'm Team Gohan. This is game 2. I kick. Lol. Call GT. Boom boom boom. Boom 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 boom. And here comes SSJ. Now I snap. He has a tall character. So here comes boom. I hit him. My win con is achieved. So now we snap one more time. While I build a ton of meter. Notice I build a shit ton of meter. Do. Boom. Okay, if I hit cell, I win. If I hit cell, the game ends, basically, at this point. Because I play Team Gohan, who does a kajillion damage, and he could tag into GT Goku. And he sparks, because he went F, because he like, this is in my regional community. Regional is correct. So everyone knows what I'm gonna do when I get this. So he's like, fuck, I'm gonna die. I went lol. And then now I do this. Boom, 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 boom. And you can't, as you see, these big X's are telling you Cell has no friends. Cell has no friends. Okay, boom, 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 fuzzy, yes sir. And now, notice what I'm not gonna do. Did you notice I didn't snap him again? Anyone notice I didn't snap him again? Because it's stupid. Why would you? This character is dying, and he has no spark, and now I win. This game's over. Boom, 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 boom. This is how you play a snap team correctly. Boom. Boom. 3-2. The game was solved. This is a game solving team. So what he said was that
was to consistently stick to someone and run mix-ups, that the best strategy in the game was to just snap their team 800 times around. It looks so gross.
It's a small miss. It's a small miss. The highest level people basically would snap until they got it. They would do two types of snaps. They would snap into assist, usually SSJ Goku, or they would try to build like around 4 bars so they could just kill you. And then rare snap teams like mine. That's why I said like it wasn't meta, because my question I always ask people is who actually wins with snap? Who actually wins with snap? And people couldn't fucking give me a good answer.
Because you would
I understand not liking it, but
just hit them, snap the character out.
Accept responsibility for getting hit. Who wins with Ram? Still meta? That's a character versus a tactic, bro. You're talking about a character versus a tactic. It's like how Gotenks was S tier, but no one plays him, right? As opposed to we're talking about who wins, what players win with snap. The answer is there's only a handful of people, very small amount of people. If it was meta, it would be the majority of players, and the majority of players couldn't even do this shit right. So
change the timing of the snap.
To this day, I stand by it.
In a lot of other ways too. I think the power level of Dragon Ball and like the older versions was too low for a versus game, and it led to stuff like that. People had to like
it's kind of bullshit though.
Like find cheap shit, and like the cheap shit was just like consistently getting Oki, consistently getting like a mid. Like I'm not asking for much, right? Pre-pandemic especially, I used to host casuals at my house a lot. Original Grand Blue was the most mad everybody has ever been playing any game at my house. I have never ever had a game cause more frustration in casuals ever than 1.0 Grand Blue, and it's because like the game was so slow, and the way you lost in the game was like the other person was just playing better neutral than you, so you lost. Like, there's no being crafty. There's no, like, how do I sneak past your offense? It wasn't interesting. It's not like I was holding down space and playing so well. It was like my character had better neutral and I had better neutral, so they just couldn't get in. Not even to, like, you don't like footsies, but, like, the approach was too weak. It's very...
The one thing, and I mean, I know why. I'm not going to flame people. I know there's definitely a type of fighting game player who's like, well, if you think all the modern games are all rushed out, fucking brain dead rushed out, then why don't you play a real game that rewards real fighting skills, right? And we know why. You know, we're not doing that today.
Clear that the new game is a reaction.
We're not doing that today.
Right? Like they built in dash attacks so that out of your run you could engage instead of just dying. But like Street Fighter 6 is a more difficult game to make the right decisions in than 5, as an example, or like even older Street Fighter. There's so many things to manage at once. Keeping track of all the different factors of what's going on is really difficult. And then there's also really difficult decisions to be made on defense and offense around the strong system mechanics to gain you.
This type of stuff is fun. It is fun. I kind of was like, it's gotta be one of these type of games though. I usually have a mixed bag when a game is too system choice based, but it's not so bad, honestly. There's upsides and downsides. I don't think it's that complicated. I think the skill of it is making the decisions in the moment, and then also of course how frame data changes off so much shit, right?
Plus frames or get you out with parry. A game being more aggressive means less interactions to win. Means more volatile results wise.
Depends on the damage output, but some of these games have insane damage output, right? You know, Stripe gets some flack, but there's a certain game that everyone loves that people said was hyper volatile when it came out, and you literally touch of death off everything. It involves 3 characters versus 3 characters. I'll let you guess which game I'm talking about.
And that's not true. Like, you know the game Footsies by Hi Fight, you die in 1 hit.
I went there. Come on, dude. You could have memed harder.
And in Strive, I don't die in 1 hit. Arslan Ash and everybody and all the Korean players and like all the top players are constantly like, this fucking Tekken game is so aggro. It sucks ass. Like, it'll have an impact. Like, eventually, either less people will be interested in playing the game because Arslan Ash and everybody says the game sucks all the time, or the devs will be like, well, maybe we can make it slightly less, or maybe we can do it slightly. You know what I mean? There's a chance that they'll adjust it. And I mean, there's a lot of power in that. When games get patched, especially modern games, the public opinion about characters is very important. I mean, there's a reason that this weekend, all everybody complained about was how bad Zato was. And Arxis, they had a list of 3 things that they knew was too overpowered or like needed changes. There was like 2 system mechanics And then we know Zato is too weak. You guys
Arxis, it's fine above Zato. Please don't forget that Baiken is in the game too. I do not ask for a lot.
fighting game design is really difficult, and the truth is you can't satisfy people. You know, you have to just make a game that you think is fun and interesting and like you believe in. And obviously it needs to make money, but like that's another problem. Modern games change a lot too, so they might not end up being what you want to play either. The things you liked about the game in launch will not be the same as like how the game is like X amount of years into the future or whatever, right? Like it's not going to be the same.
So true, bestie. So true, bestie. Actually, so true.